Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today we're going to play I'm Confessin'. I'm Confessin' is an old American popular song, probably from the 20s, and it was recorded in 1934 by Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli. I'm going to show you the basic melody with a few ideas for phrasing, and then I'm going to do two things. I'm going to try simplifying the chord sequence to see how we can deal with that, and also how to do whole line phrases, so that you're not buzzing around like an aimless fly, but are actually like a bee heading straight for wherever you're heading. So let's start off with the melody. It's in a nice easy key of G, and we can do it in 2 octaves, certainly the A part anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go up an octave. Okay, you may have thought it a bit mean me saying let's go up an octave without writing it up, but that's a valuable skill to be able to take a simple melody that and play automatically up and down an octave. And it's easy in some keys, it's obviously a lot harder in others, but even if it goes down to something as simple as I think that's well worth practicing, because these melodies, they very often repeat slightly too many times, and if you're going to play them in a really simple fashion, then just an octave jump is a good way to make it more interesting. Okay, the bridge. So we're going down from an F sharp, which is the normal note, to a F natural. 1, 2, 3, 4. The A section. Okay, let's just do it more or less like that, but with the backing. Okay, so I was playing it pretty much as written, and if you're performing this in a jazz setting, then you really do want to do more than that on actually on the melody itself. So you've got to rephrase certain things. So we get in, for example, da, da, da. So that same rhythmic phrase is coming over and over again, and you don't want to do it the same every time. So you might do it, and then, and then, and then this thing. That's kind of an off-the-cuff answering phrase, and you could do something completely different. And then, so there's a whole 2 bars there with virtually nothing there. You don't want to do just that, because that's simply boring. So that is an opportunity to stick some little licks in. So I'll play the whole thing once again. Again, I will stay close to the melody, but I'm going to shake it up a bit. So I blithely say that I'm just going to shake it up a bit, and I try and make it look easy, but going from that stage to the stage of shaking it up a bit is actually several years' work. So don't feel bad if you can't make it sound like that straight away. What you need to do is to identify all of the different little elements that can be changed and the ways that they can be changed, and go at them one at a time. That's the only thing. It's a slow business learning jazz. No one ever says that it's easy. If the more of my videos you watch, the more you will see certain ideas repeating, and by latching onto those ideas, you can gradually pick up all of the techniques that you need. Now, I'm going to look specifically at 2 different things. I said the first one is simplifying the chord sequence. So we're now moving into an actual improvised solo where we're going to leave the melody behind, and we're going to try and make some sense of the chord sequence. So the version that I've got starts off with a G, everyone's happy, then we got a C sharp 11, and a lot of you are immediately heading for the door, followed by an F sharp 7, B minor 7, E7. So there's a lot of chords in here, and eventually you will come to realize that a lot of these chords are not really doing very much more than kind of coloring a very basic chord sequence, just making it sound more interesting. And if you spent the next week trying to work out what to do with a C sharp 11 followed by an F sharp 7, and then you went along to a jam session and a pianist sits down, starts playing G, da 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 da, and the next chord he plays is something completely different, then your week has been wasted. So what's really important is to work out what are the important chords. So I'm going to try and do this as if the whole first line was just a G chord. The second line is just a 2-5-1, which is basically in the key of G, A minor 7, D7. So this has been dressed up in interesting ways. So I'm oversimplifying, but that's what I'm going to do. Then we've got another line which I'm going to treat all as G. Then the 2-5-1 again. And then what very often happens in this kind of tune is it goes from the 1 chord to the 1-7. So I'm going to treat all of those 2 bars as G7. Going to C, going to A, going to D. So I'm treating this as 4 different chords, which are the basis of loads of different tunes, and I'm just ignoring the different little colours that have been added. And then the same on the final 2 lines. So it's not going to sound great, but it is going to sound okay, I think. Let's just hear what that sounds like. Another 2-5-1. And the G. G7 and the C and the D and the G. 2-5-1. So played like that, with confidence, as if you are absolutely convinced that it is a 2-5-1 or that it's just a G chord, it really does sound pretty good, and it'll almost sound like your accompanist doesn't quite know what they're doing. As I very often say, someone who's done a jazz music degree would throw up their hands in horror hearing me describe a chord sequence in this way. But it's what I've always done, and well, it's part of what I've always done, shall we say. I always say there are 2 different approaches to a chord sequence. One is to follow every chord, and the other is to follow the simplest possible version. And you should try and be able to do both and to swap between both within one tune. Okay, and finally I'm going to look at ways of making your improvising coherent by having a single direction to a whole line. So what I will often hear people doing is something like this, and apologies to all those people for making fun of them. So that kind of playing, if you imagine a fly, flies don't have much sense of direction, so they're going they're going like that. Whereas a bee, it knows where it's going like that, or it's going like that, or it's going like that. So it knows where it's going. So what's a really good exercise is to try and make a scale last for a whole 4 bars. Now if you just go, then you're only 2 bars in and you've got as high as you really want to go. So you've got to make the scale last longer. Something like that, or so for the whole of those 4 bars, we're doing the same thing. We're moving in the same direction. Or it could be going down. And I'm not using the same pattern all the way. I'm using a variety of different patterns, and I don't know until I get near the end how I'm going to fit the final few notes in. But as you get closer to the end, then you can decide what kind of rhythm you're going to use in order to get to the right place at the right time. It could also be not going up or going down, but maybe staying in the same place. Doing that for a whole 4 bars would also give you a sense that you know actually what you're doing. So I'm going to try and do the whole sequence with basically 8 different phrases, but only 8 phrases. So we'll start off with an ascending line. So I made one bad mistake there, and the mistake was to do my scale. So I think I was on the beginning of the bridge. So when it changes chord halfway through the line, and I forgot to change chord with it. But it should be possible to a scale that's going up or down to change as the important chord changes. And of course I was ignoring the G13 flat 9 and all that stuff. But yeah, so the idea of this is that you are giving some kind of unity to each phrase and make your phrases longer and more directional. You don't have to do this all the time, but certainly some of the time it is really going to help your soloing. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, found it useful. If you would like a copy of the basic sheet music for I'm Confessin, then do subscribe to the channel, send me an email, I will send you a PDF. I'm going to play you out with a couple of times round, first of all around the melody and then some hopefully fairly interesting soloing. And if you would like to get hold of all of my PDFs and my Gypsy Jazz collection and loads of other resources, including all my 1-lick 1-minute videos, do please consider joining me on Patreon. Thank you for watching. See you again soon.